And just the other day, a speaker at his rally called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. Well, let me tell you something. I don't know the Puerto Rican that I know, or Puerto Rico where I'm in my home state of Delaware. They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is just supporters.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be diving into something you wanted to learn more about.
Okay.
Waste management in Puerto Rico.
Interesting.
And you might be thinking,
Yeah.
wait, Puerto Rico, that tropical paradise.
Right.
And you're right, it is stunning.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
there's another side to the island,
Uh-huh.
a side grappling with a pretty serious trash problem.
Oh, wow.
We've got some great sources to help us unpack this, including some insights from LimpyR,
Okay.
which is an organization dedicated to cleaning up Puerto Rico,
Got it.
and a really thought-provoking article from the environmental blog called Puerto Rico Trash Problem.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah, it's kind of a paradox, isn't it? This island,
Yeah.
renowned for its natural beauty,
Right.
is simultaneously facing a waste management crisis that threatens that very beauty.
Exactly. And the environmental blog, they paint a very stark picture.
Okay.
Puerto Rico generates something like 3.7 million tons of waste annually. I know. And that number might not mean much on its own, but get this.
Yeah.
That's more than the island's entire population.
Wow.
I mean, to put it in perspective,
Okay.
if we were to spread that waste evenly across the island,
Yeah.
we'd be looking at over 1,000 pounds of trash per person.
That's
Yeah.
a lot. To add to that, the island's landfills are overflowing.
Right.
Recycling rates are dismally low at just 10%.
Oh, wow.
And the thriving tourism industry only adds to the burden.
So it's not just about unsightly garbage heaps.
Right.
This is a problem with far-reaching consequences.
Precisely. This isn't merely an aesthetic issue.
Yeah.
It's a complex problem with serious environmental and public health implications.
The environmental blog goes into some detail about the environmental damage.
Okay.
What are some of the most striking examples?
Well, the article highlights the contamination of water sources,
Right.
jeopardizing drinking water and harming delicate ecosystems.
Yeah.
Imagine crystal clear rivers and pristine beaches, now tainted with pollutants.
Yuck.
It paints a rather disturbing picture.
Yeah.
The soil, too, is affected,
Uh-huh.
impacting agriculture and potentially leading to food security issues.
And of course, there's the air pollution from the burning of waste, which can't be good for anyone's respiratory health.
Absolutely. The air quality suffers,
Right.
leading to respiratory problems for residents.
Yeah.
It's a chain reaction of negative consequences
Right.
that ultimately affects everyone on the island.
And let's not forget the ocean.
Oh.
Puerto Rico, being an island,
Sure.
is particularly vulnerable to the impacts of marine pollution.
Right. The article really emphasizes the devastating effect on marine life.
Yeah,
Plastic pollution is a huge problem,
it is.
with plastic debris harming fish, sea turtles, and even coral reefs.
Wow.
These fragile ecosystems, already under stress from climate change,
Right.
are further burdened by the influx of waste.
It's disheartening to imagine the vibrant marine life being choked by plastic debris. It's clear that this trash problem extends far beyond mere inconvenience.
Indeed, it's a multifaceted issue that demands our attention.
So we've talked about the environmental pull, but
Yeah.
what about the impact on the people living in Puerto Rico?
Right.
How does this waste crisis affect their health and well-being?
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
Improper waste management creates a breeding ground for diseases.
Mm.
When garbage isn't properly contained or disposed of,
Right.
it attracts pests and creates unsanitary conditions that can spread illnesses.
So we're looking at a potential public health crisis in addition to the environmental damage.
Precisely. And then there's the economic fallout.
Right. Tourism is a major industry for Puerto Rico, and who wants to vacation on a trash-filled beach?
Exactly. The visual impact of accumulated waste can deter tourists,
Yeah,
leading to a decline in tourism revenue, which is vital for the island's economy.
of course.
Plus, the cost of cleaning up this mess is astronomical.
Didn't the environmental blog mention something about the financial burden of waste management on the island?
Yes, it highlighted that Puerto Rico spends millions of dollars annually
Wow.
just to manage and clean up the waste.
Yeah.
These are funds that could be directed toward other essential services,
Right.
like education, healthcare, or infrastructure
It
development.
seems like a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
The waste problem strains the economy,
Uh-huh.
making it even more challenging to implement effective waste management solutions.
Exactly. It's a complex issue with interconnected challenges.
So where do we go from here? It seems like a pretty bleak picture.
While the situation is serious, it's not hopeless.
Okay.
There are individuals and organizations like LimpR
Right.
who are deeply committed to finding solutions and creating a cleaner, greener Puerto Rico.
That's encouraging to hear. What kind of approach does LimpR take to address this issue?
Their mission is rooted in promoting waste reduction and raising ecological awareness through education.
Okay.
They firmly believe that a cleaner Puerto Rico is possible
Yeah.
and are actively working towards that goal.
It's refreshing to see organizations like LimpR tackling this problem head on.
Yeah.
But are they alone in this fight?
Oh, no.
Are there other groups working towards similar goals?
Absolutely. There's a growing movement in Puerto Rico to address the waste crisis.
Okay.
The environmental blog mentions several initiatives,
Yeah.
one of which is Zero Waste Puerto Rico,
Okay.
spearheaded by groups like Basura Cero.
Zero Waste Puerto Rico. That sounds ambitious. What exactly are they trying to achieve?
Their focus is on promoting sustainable living and zero waste practices.
Okay.
They're working to reduce waste at the source, which is ultimately the most effective way to tackle the problem.
So what are some of the specific actions they're taking to promote this idea of zero waste?
They're heavily involved in community outreach,
Uh-huh.
educating people on practical ways to reduce waste in their daily lives,
Like what?
like composting and recycling.
Okay.
They also work closely with businesses to help them adopt more sustainable practices.
So they're not just talking about it? They're providing tangible solutions and working to change behaviors at both individual and business levels.
Yes.
That's great.
It's about empowering people and businesses to make informed choices
Right.
that contribute to a more sustainable future.
It sounds like a very grassroots, community-driven approach.
It is.
But what about the role of the government?
Yeah.
Is there any action being taken at the policy level to address this crisis?
Yes, there have been some promising developments on that front as well.
Okay.
The government has implemented a few key policies aimed at reducing waste and promoting recycling.
What are some of the key policies that have been put in place?
Well, one of the most significant is the single-use plastics ban,
Okay.
which was phased in back in 2021.
Right.
This ban targets plastic bags, straws, and utensils, forcing businesses to switch to biodegradable alternatives.
That's a major step. It seems like a simple change,
Yeah,
but I imagine it has a significant impact on the amount of plastic waste generated.
it does. It forces people to rethink their consumption habits
Right.
and consider the environmental consequences of their choices.
Are there any other government initiatives worth highlighting?
The Environmental Quality Board,
Okay.
or EQB,
Okay.
has also tightened regulations on landfills,
Okay.
requiring better waste segregation.
Makes sense.
They're also pushing for the modernization of existing landfills and exploring the development of new, more sustainable ones.
That makes sense. Upgrading the infrastructure is key to managing waste effectively.
Right.
And what about recycling?
Yeah.
Has the government done anything to encourage that?
Yes, they've passed Act 24/7,
Okay.
which mandates recycling programs in all municipalities across the island.
Oh,
This has led to a noticeable increase in recycling rates,
okay.
particularly in cities like Baimon and Ponce,
Uh-huh.
where they've set up dedicated collection centers.
It sounds like things are moving in a positive direction with both government policies and grassroots efforts contributing to a change in mindset.
Definitely, there's a growing awareness of the problem and a willingness to find solutions.
That's great.
However, there are also significant challenges that need to be addressed.
That's what I was about to ask. It can't all be smooth sailing.
Right.
What are some of the major obstacles that stand in the way of a cleaner Puerto Rico?
Funding is a major hurdle.
Sure.
Budget constraints make it difficult for the government to invest in large-scale waste management solutions.
Yeah.
And then there's the impact of natural disasters like hurricanes,
Right.
which can disrupt waste management infrastructure and set back progress.
That's a tough one. It seems like they're constantly having to rebuild and recover.
They are.
Are there any other challenges worth mentioning?
Lack of awareness remains a challenge.
Okay.
Not everyone fully grasps the severity of the problem
Uh-huh.
or understands how their actions contribute to it.
Yeah.
And then there's the issue of outdated waste systems.
Right.
Some of the existing infrastructure just isn't equipped to handle modern sustainable practices.
So it's a complex web of challenges, each with its own set of complexities.
Exactly. It's not a problem with easy solutions.
Right.
But the important thing is that there's a growing momentum towards change.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We have.
We've seen the stark reality of Puerto Rico's trash troubles.
Yeah.
The overflowing landfills, the environmental damage, the public health risks, and the economic strain.
It's a sobering picture.
Yeah.
But it's important to understand the full scope of the problem
Right.
before we can effectively address it.
Absolutely. But amidst these challenges, we've also seen glimmers of hope.
Mm-hmm.
The dedicated work of organizations like LimpER and Zero Waste Puerto Rico.
Right.
The government's efforts to implement policies like the single-use plastics ban and Act 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
And the growing awareness among the people of Puerto Rico that change is necessary.
It's a testament to the resilience of the Puerto Rican people.
Right.
And their commitment to creating a more sustainable future for their island.
It seems like there's a real sense of hope and determination to turn things around.
There is.
But how effective are these solutions?
Yeah.
And what does the future hold for waste management in Puerto Rico?
Right.
We'll delve into these questions in the next part of our deep dive.
Good.
So stay tuned.
Okay. Let's shift our focus now to the impact of some of these initiatives we discussed.
Okay.
It's one thing to have, programs and policies in place.
Right.
But are they actually making a difference on the ground?
That's a great point. It's all well and good to have good intentions.
Right.
But we need to see tangible results.
Exactly.
Where should we start?
Well, those community cleanup efforts are a great example of action translating into impact.
Okay.
Limpiemos nuestra isla, which translates to let's clean our island, is one such initiative spearheaded by the Scuba Dog Society.
I remember reading about that in the environmental blog article.
Yeah.
They had some pretty impressive numbers, didn't they?
They did. Last year alone, they mobilized over 5,000 volunteers.
Wow.
Who collected a staggering 45,000 pounds of trash.
That's a lot.
From beaches, parks, and rivers across the island.
Wow, that's incredible. To see so many people coming together to make a difference is truly inspiring.
It really is. And it's not just about the immediate impact of removing the trash.
Right.
These events also play a crucial role in raising awareness and fostering a sense of community responsibility.
So it's about more than just cleaning up.
Yeah.
It's about changing attitudes and behaviors for the long term.
Exactly. And then there's the Playas Limpias campaign.
Right.
Which focuses specifically on cleaning up tourist areas.
I was particularly intrigued by that one.
Yeah.
They've managed to get the tourism industry involved, haven't they?
Yes, they've partnered with local businesses to sponsor these cleanups.
Okay.
It's a smart strategy because it directly engages those who benefit from a clean and attractive environment.
It makes perfect sense, and it seems to be working. The article mentions some positive results, particularly at Condado Beach.
Right. They've reported an 18% reduction in plastic waste at Condado Beach.
Wow.
Since the campaign began. That's significant progress.
Yeah.
They're also doing educational outreach to tourists.
Okay.
Encouraging them to dispose of their waste properly.
It's a great example of how collaboration and a multi-pronged approach can lead to real change.
It is.
So we've seen the impact of these community-driven initiatives.
Right.
Now, what about those government policies?
Okay.
Have they moved the needle on this issue?
Let's take Act 24/7.
Okay.
The one that mandates recycling programs in every municipality.
Right.
While Puerto Rico's overall recycling rate is still quite low.
Yeah.
This act has led to a noticeable uptick in recycling.
Okay.
Particularly in cities like Bayamón and Ponce.
The article mentioned they've set up dedicated collection centers in those cities, right?
They have, and they've seen a 12% increase in recycling rates in those areas.
Okay.
Since the implementation of Act 24/7, it demonstrates that while progress may be gradual, these policies can have a real impact on the ground.
That's encouraging to hear. And what about the single-use plastics ban?
Yeah.
Has that been effective in reducing plastic waste?
It has. Businesses in Old San Juan, for instance, have reported a 25% reduction in plastic waste since the ban came into effect.
It's amazing how such a seemingly simple policy change can have such a profound effect.
It really highlights the power of legislation to drive behavioral change.
Right.
And this is just the beginning. The government is also working on some ambitious plans
Wow.
for the future of waste management in Puerto Rico.
This is getting exciting. Tell me more what's in store for the island.
Well, they're aiming to significantly boost the overall recycling rate,
Okay.
setting a target of 35% by 2030.
Wow.
It's an ambitious goal,
Yeah.
but they're putting their money where their mouth is
Yeah.
by investing in new recycling facilities and
Yeah.
expanding existing programs.
That sounds promising. What other innovative solutions are they exploring?
One exciting avenue they're looking into is the development of waste-to-energy plants.
Okay.
These plants can generate electricity while simultaneously diverting waste from landfills.
That's fantastic. It's about turning a problem into a resource.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a win-win situation for both the environment and the economy.
Right.
They're also continuing to invest in closing down unsafe landfills
Okay.
and developing modern, sustainable alternatives.
Uh-huh.
Plus, they're stepping up policy enforcement
Okay.
and providing incentives for businesses and individuals
Right.
to adopt more sustainable practices.
It sounds like they're taking a comprehensive approach, tackling the problem from multiple angles.
They are, and it's important to note that these efforts aren't happening in isolation.
Right.
There's a growing movement within Puerto Rico to embrace sustainable living and minimize waste.
Yes. There's that Municipio Verde program that encourages home composting, right?
Exactly. And it's gaining traction. Over 1,500 households are already participating.
Wow.
And more are joining every day.
That's
Plus, stores like El Mercado Verde are offering discounts for using reusable bags.
It's a ripple effect of positive change with individuals, businesses, and the government all playing their part.
It is.
It's truly inspiring to see this collective effort to create a cleaner and greener Puerto Rico.
It is. It
Yeah.
speaks volumes about the resilience and determination of the Puerto Rican people.
Yeah.
But as we celebrate these successes,
Right.
it's important to acknowledge that the journey towards sustainable waste management is an ongoing one.
That's a great point. What are some of the challenges that still need to be addressed?
Well, funding remains a persistent issue, even with the best intentions.
Right.
Implementing these solutions requires significant financial resources,
Yeah.
which can be scarce, especially in the aftermath of natural disasters.
Right. The environmental blog highlighted the vulnerability of the island to hurricanes
Yeah,
and their potential to disrupt waste management infrastructure.
exactly. It's a constant battle to rebuild and recover,
Right.
which can divert resources away from long-term solutions.
And then there's the ongoing need to raise awareness and educate the public.
Absolutely.
Not everyone is fully on board with sustainable practices.
Right.
And changing deeply ingrained habits can be a slow process.
It is.
So it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But the progress made so far demonstrates that with sustained effort and collaboration,
Yeah.
real change is possible.
We've explored the solutions and the challenges.
Right.
But what does the future hold for waste management in Puerto Rico?
That's a great question, and one we'll delve into in the final part of our deep dive. Stay tuned.
We've seen the complexities of Puerto Rico's waste management crisis.
Yeah.
You know, the efforts being made to address it and the persistent challenges
Right.
that remain.
Yeah.
So now let's shift gears and look toward the future.
Okay.
What does the path ahead look like for the island?
Well, the future of waste management in Puerto Rico, I think, hinges on innovation, collaboration, and a continued commitment to sustainability.
Okay.
It's about building upon the successes that we've already discussed
Right.
and tackling those remaining hurdles head on.
The environmental blog touched upon some of the ambitious goals that the government has set for the future. They mentioned aiming for a 35% recycling rate by 2030,
Yeah,
which seems like a pretty lofty goal.
it is.
Considering the current rate is just 10%.
Right.
Do you think it's achievable?
It's certainly ambitious, but I don't think it's impossible.
Okay.
Achieving that target will require significant investment in infrastructure,
Okay.
including new recycling facilities and expanded collection programs.
Right.
It will also necessitate a sustained effort to educate the public about the importance of recycling and how to do it properly.
So it's not just about building the infrastructure. It's
Yeah.
about changing mindsets and habits.
Precisely. It's about fostering a culture of recycling,
Yeah.
where it becomes second nature for residents to separate their waste and participate in those recycling programs.
And it sounds like the government is committed to exploring more innovative solutions as well.
Yes,
Those waste-to-energy plants we discussed earlier
right.
seem particularly promising.
They do.
Yeah.
These plants have the potential to revolutionize waste management in Puerto Rico.
In what way?
Well, not only can they generate electricity, reducing reliance on fossil fuels, but they also divert waste from landfills,
Right.
addressing the issue of limited space.
That makes sense.
It's a win-win situation.
It's exciting to think about the possibilities.
Yeah.
Are there any other cutting-edge technologies or approaches that are being considered?
Well, there's a growing interest in anaerobic digestion,
Okay.
which is a process that breaks down organic waste, like food scraps,
Okay.
to produce biogas, and fertilizer.
Interesting.
This technology could be particularly beneficial in Puerto Rico, given the abundance of organic waste generated.
It's incredible how technology can be harnessed to turn waste into valuable resources.
It is.
But beyond technology, what other factors will play a crucial role in shaping the future of waste management on the island?
I think community engagement will be paramount. The success of initiatives like Limpiemos Nuestra Isla and Playas Limpias demonstrates the power of collective action. When people feel empowered and involved, they're more likely to embrace sustainable practices and become advocates for change.
So it's about moving beyond government mandates.
Yes.
And fostering a sense of ownership and responsibility within the community.
Exactly. It's about empowering individuals to be part of the solution.
Right.
And this goes hand in hand with education.
Sure.
The more people understand the environmental and economic consequences of improper waste management, the more likely they are to make sustainable choices.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I keep thinking about the parallels between Puerto Rico and other island communities around the world. They often face similar challenges when it comes to waste management, with limited land availability and vulnerable ecosystems.
That's a great point. The lessons learned and the solutions being implemented in Puerto Rico could serve as valuable models for other islands grappling with similar issues.
It's like a blueprint for sustainable waste management in island environments.
Exactly. It's about sharing knowledge and best practices to find solutions that can be adapted and replicated in different contexts.
So what's the key takeaway for our listener who's been following this deep dive into Puerto Rico's trash troubles?
I think the most important message is that while the challenges are real and complex, there's also a tremendous amount of hope.
Okay.
The progress being made in Puerto Rico demonstrates that it is possible to turn things around, even in the face of adversity.
It's a story of resilience, innovation, and a growing commitment to creating a more sustainable future.
Absolutely. And it highlights that we all have a role to play in this journey.
Yes.
Whether it's through individual actions, community involvement, or advocating for policy changes, we can all contribute to creating a world where waste is seen not as a burden, but as a valuable resource.
Well said. It's been a fascinating and insightful exploration of a very complex issue.
It has.
We've delved into the depths of Puerto Rico's waste management challenges.
We have.
But we've also emerged with a renewed sense of hope and optimism.
Indeed. It's a story that reminds us that even amidst seemingly insurmountable challenges, human ingenuity and a collective will to make a difference can pave the way towards a brighter, more sustainable future.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Remember, you can find links to all the resources we discussed in the show notes.
Yes, and until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep making a difference.